Welcome to Hard Hats and Horizons, the podcast where we dig deep into the construction and economic development shaping the future of Dallas-Fort Worth. We bring you insights from industry leaders and visionaries who are driving growth in North Texas. From construction projects to industry trends and insights, we cover it all. So grab your hard hat and join us as we explore the people and projects shaping the skyline of DFW. Now, here is your host, Andrea Pender.
Today, I have MC Mercer with us, and he is the North Texas Division Manager at HOAR Construction.
Yes.
So thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about what HOAR does?
Yeah. So HOAR Construction, we're an 85-year-old commercial general contractor. We are geographically spread across basically the Sun Belt, the Southeast into Texas. We have an office in Washington, D.C., 2 offices in Florida. So for, lack of a better term, Sun Belt in Texas.
Okay.
And then as far as what, product types we build, just about everything. There's not much that we don't touch, but our key markets are healthcare, higher ed, institutional work, and mid and high-rise multifamily construction. So those are our major markets. But when the office market was booming, we were building a lot of core and shell office buildings, and so obviously just dependent on the market and what it's doing, we kind of go with the flow.
Okay, nice. How many people are in Texas?
Oh gosh,
Or your North Texas?
Yeah, our North Texas division has about 40 people. I think Austin's somewhere around 90, and Houston's maybe like 150. So we're pushing close to maybe 300 people in
Nice.
Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe let's kind of pivot just a little bit and
Sure.
talk to us about how you got into construction and how you ended up at your role that you're in today.
Yeah. So, like a lot of people, I was actually talking to someone this weekend about this. Like, I feel like there's this thing where like in 7th or 8th grade, you're learning about yourself, and all of a sudden, like me, you're like, I want to be an architect.
Uh-huh.
It just like pops into your head. There's a lot of people in the industry that you talk to, and they're like, when I was a kid, I want to be an architect.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So I always said that. And then as I went through high school, I think I learned that like maybe I wasn't very artistic, and that wasn't probably going to be for me.
You
but
weren't
I
going
was
to bust out the watercolors?
no, you go from like your parents saying, "Oh, it looks so good," and then you realize it's not so good, right?
Yeah.
So I was always really good at math and science, and I had a long family history of relatives, including my dad and grandfather, who had gone to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. And grew up a Georgia Tech fan, always wanted to go there, and it fit my skill set. And so went to Georgia Tech. My grandfather was a civil engineering major, and so I don't know, I just picked it, and it just felt like from everything that I knew about it, I would succeed, but I didn't really know what that meant as far as what my job would be. And so I kind of just, freshman year, just taking core classes. And then I did 4 semesters in a row of class. Like I took, spring or fall, spring, summer, fall. I was getting burned out. I was like, I gotta slow down. And Georgia Tech has one of the best co-op programs in the country. And they push it really hard. And so I started interviewing for co-op.
And what does that mean exactly?
Co-op is essentially nothing more than it's an internship but it's on a rotation. So instead of just interning for 1 semester and then you're done, they kind of commit to 3 semesters. And they alternate. So you work, then you go back to school, then you work, then you go back to school.
Okay.
So it gives you a nice break, but it also gives you a ton of work experience. And so interviewed and had a second interview with a civil engineering firm.
Uh-huh.
And, I think I kind of got a very quick idea of what that world looked like.
Uh-huh.
And then had some interviews and follow-up interviews with general contractors, which at the time I had no idea how this whole industry worked, right? But interviewed with these general contractors and really felt like that was more of a fit personality-wise. And so took a job with a GC in Atlanta and just pretty much day one fell in love with it. Enjoyed what I was doing even as a college student, right? But I was seeing what the people that I was working for, the full-time employees, seeing what they got to do every day. And I was like, this satisfies me. Like I get enjoyment out of this. And so I've never looked back. I graduated. I went to work for that company in Atlanta and then ended up moving to Texas. And then that's how I found HOAR. I had a friend working at HOAR Construction in Houston. He recruited me, went to work for them. And then to make a long story short, ended up here, and we started our division in Dallas about 4 years ago.
So you got your degree though in civil engineering.
I did.
You didn't switch it to construction management or anything.
No, Georgia Tech has a building construction degree. I think by the time I started working, I was about 2 years into college, and I just figured, what does it matter, right?
Mhm.
I think that I learned very quickly that my hands-on work experience was really what was going to dictate my success. I'm a firm believer that college provides a lot of really good soft skills and it teaches you hopefully how to be an adult.
Mhm.
I don't know that like the actual classes that you take translate into much unless it's law school or medical school,
Right.
or things like
I
that.
agree.
But I think even a lot of the building science, people that we are hiring at a school today would tell you like the majority of what I know is from my work experience.
Mhm.
So, anyways, I thought it would be cool to still have an engineering degree, even though I never
Mhm.
took the PE or
Uh-huh.
anything, but it's on my degree. So,
Yeah. No, that when I read that, I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, I
yeah.
don't think I knew that. It's interesting that you say that about college because I went to Purdue, like, I loved every minute of it, but also I think that was just 4 years of just growing up.
Hmm.
You're kinda on your own, you still have a little bit of help from home if you need it, but really I feel like those were 4 years of growing up,
Yep.
that everybody probably needs.
There's no hand holding typically anymore, right? And so there's no one telling you to go to class. There's no one
Right.
telling you to study or do whatever. You have to figure it out on your own. And so again, just my own personal perspective and experience was that college. I would not say that by the end of college I was grown up by any means. But those 4.5 years for me, I learned. I walked away understanding what it was going to take to be a successful person in life and in my career and everything else. And that's really what was important. And during those 4.5 years, I worked full time for four semesters. I don't know if you add all that up, maybe a year and a half, 2 years of,
Right.
of work
Yeah.
experience in the industry that I wanted to go into. And so when I started my full time career, I wouldn't say I wasn't nervous, but I walked in with a little bit of confidence of like,
Sure.
I kind of know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Right.
As opposed to walking in day one green and being like, what are the expectations?
What
What do we do?
what am I
You know
doing?
what I mean? Like
I know
full
exactly.
time employment is
Yeah,
1,000% different than going to class every day.
totally.
And so I at least had an understanding of
Uh-huh.
what was going to be expected of me and those sorts of things.
How did they because, like, this is bringing back I know that there were a few co-op houses at Purdue, and if there's anyone from Purdue watching this, they're gonna be like, "How did you not know this?" But I didn't know anything about the co-op program. So were there
Yeah.
a lot of kids doing this at
Yeah.
Georgia
And,
Tech?
and it's short for cooperative. And so, yeah, like I said, tech pushed it hard. It's like one of those long standing programs that they have invested heavily in.
Mhm.
And when I say that, I mean like they are the people that are a part of that program, faculty wise. They're out there recruiting companies to come in and recruit their students, right? So they are fully bought in on the co-op program experience, and so they're out there trying to get more companies to come to career fairs and to interview their students so that they can have more opportunities available for students at Tech. And so um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's weird because I say co-op a lot. And people have no idea what I'm talking about. It's just
Mhm.
intern.
Yeah.
I guess maybe there's not as many schools that have that program or that mentality, but that is the whole thing behind it, right? Is that an internship, it might just be for one semester and then
Right.
you're done with that company,
Right.
which could be fine.
Yeah.
But the co-op program's philosophy is that company is you're investing in that company's investing in you. And I don't know what the statistics are now, but when I was there, it was something like 60 to 70% of the people that co-opt took full-time jobs with those
Mm.
companies.
That's cool.
So it's kind of I mean, for lack of a better term, cheap training ground for
Yeah.
employers.
And free the
As a
student.
student, it's amazing.
Right.
I thought I was rich. Like I compared to my friends, I had like a little bit of spending money, and I
Right.
was like, this is amazing.
I'm a millionaire
Yeah,
over here.
exactly. Yeah.
That's funny. Awesome. No, that's really interesting. And as soon as you said that, I could picture walking past those co-op. They were kind of like fraternities
Mm.
at Purdue. And I can remember walking past those houses and then not knowing a
What?
clue what
Yeah.
those kids were going to school for or anything. Were most of the people kind of construction or
All degrees. Yeah, they try to bring in employers from all the different industries. I don't, again, percentage wise, I would say probably half of my like close friends co-opt. Some people did it because they wanted. Like some people were out of town tuition. They needed to get in 4 years and out. You usually added about a semester to 2 semesters to your total time at school
oh,
since you were taking off to work.
right.
And so some people were like, I can't afford whatever.
Mhm.
People that were in state, especially that maybe kind of knew they wanted to stay in Georgia or in Atlanta afterwards. It's like this is the best option available to me. Just
Let's do it.
let's do it. Yeah. So it's very popular. Yeah.
Interesting. I learned something new
There you
today.
go.
Cool. What are some key moments or challenges that you have had throughout your career?
A lot. I mean, as you and probably all people listening know, construction is not easy. It's not an easy business. I think going back to when I moved to Texas. I,
And did work bring you here?
no personal
Okay.
things brought me here, but it all worked out. And honestly, I always had wanted to, when I got into construction, one of the things that I thought was cool about it was the opportunity to maybe see some different places.
Okay.
I lived in Atlanta since I was 3.
Mhm.
I went to school there, obviously, and then I was living there after college, right? And so I thought, what a cool industry. I might get to move to Greenville, South Carolina and build X, right? Or I might get to move to Charleston or whatever. That didn't end up happening. The company I was working for was very busy in Atlanta. When
You got to move to Dallas.
I moved to Houston. Yeah, so when I moved to Houston, it was like, this is, I was 25, and it was the first time really that I could remember that I lived anywhere else. And
Uh-huh.
so that was a challenge in and of itself, learning a new city, making new
Yes.
friends, coming to a new company. And all the while, you still have to work and be productive and everything else. I'll say probably the biggest or most recent challenge is when we started this division. My old mentor, he's no longer at HOAR, but he had led the Texas group of HOAR for, I don't know, 2 decades. And one of the things he wanted to do before he left was start a third division and give people opportunity to lead. And so myself and David Hills, our director of ops, I think
Mhm.
you've met him. We were kind of tasked with, hey, here's this opportunity, do with it what you will. And so that has been, I mean, it's been 4 years of a lot of fun, but also it's been a challenge every step of the way, right?
Mhm.
Because you're stepping into a new geographical market where you haven't been necessarily before. We had done some work in the Dallas area over time, but nothing consistent. And so basically building up a whole new network, recruiting people to come obviously and work for you,
Mhm.
finding projects to build. And then we always said that was our biggest, hurdles. Like we got to find work, and we did find work. And then what we didn't realize is like, okay, now the challenge is we got to build it and build it well,
Right. Right.
which is who we are, but it's still a challenge on
Right.
every job, right? Then you're closing out jobs, and then you're backfilling, right? And so for me, in a professional setting, it's probably been my biggest challenge to date is moving into a role where I'm not hands on a project every day building. I came up as a project manager, and so when you're a project manager, you are blinders up, focused on whatever you're building, whatever the challenges of that day are, right? And succeeding in whatever that is. In divisional leadership, right? You're more so focused on, okay, how do we keep this thing going? How do
Mhm.
we maintain what we have? How do we grow it? How do we grow our people? How do we make sure that all everything is clicking every day, and all the while knowing it's not going to be perfect, right?
Mhm.
So how do we handle the challenges that come up on the project level or on the divisional level? Yeah, like I said, it's fun. I really do enjoy it, but that doesn't mean it's not a challenge. Any business owner, and I'm not a business owner, but any business owner would tell you while they enjoy what they're doing, it is a challenge to maintain that day in and day out.
And I think that's why it takes a certain person to love that part of it,
Yeah.
because if it was the same old every day, it wouldn't be the right role for you.
Yeah, and
"Ah, Lord."
that's why that's what drew me to construction, or rather that's what kept me in construction after I started, was that I quickly learned that there are no 2 days that are the same.
No, yeah,
Even if you're going to the same trailer on a construction site for 2 straight years, every day is different.
sure, yeah,
And
yeah,
and I loved that. I don't do well being bored. And so like while it's a challenge to show up and have like a list of 10 things you want to get done that day and you maybe only get 2 done because all
uh-huh,
these fires happen, right?
uh-huh,
That there's something inside of you that's like that you leave the day and you're like, I accomplished a lot, right?
mhm,
Even if it was even if it was things that I didn't anticipate. And so in this role, it's kind of the same. It's just different because I'm more so supporting other people in whatever ways they need me to.
mhm,
Like I might walk into a day and have 3 or 4 things I want to work on. Um, and maybe I only get to work on one because somebody really needed me to help with an estimate, or somebody needed me to
mhm,
help with a contract issue that they were dealing with or whatever. But to me, that's what I really like about my current role, is that I do get to probably be more involved with all of our people
mhm,
than I did when I was on the operation side and the PM side, where you're
mhm,
only working with the people on your team, your
mhm.
immediate team.
You mentioned this in some of your notes. That's what I was referencing over here. One of the things you wanted to talk about was what makes a great employee. So I feel like that could be a good segue for you to.
Yeah. I think I say that because I think one of the biggest challenges in the industry right now is, I don't want to say recruitment, but like finding enough qualified individuals, or if they're green, enough people that have the desire and the drive to learn and figure out how to be successful in this industry. We've been talking about a craft labor shortage for probably as long as I've been in this industry,
Mhm.
probably.
Yep.
But on top of that, just even on in the office, in the field, like finding people who have that desire and that drive to be the best. And so I think how I would define, you know, a great employee or somebody that I think is going to succeed is someone that is bought into the mission of whatever company they're working for or whatever, you know, division or whatever. But like where I see people have great success at a young age is they're super self motivated, meaning that it doesn't take outside sources to get them amped up to do their job, right? So they're self motivated. They're bought into the mission, meaning that for like use us for as an example, everyone that works in our division knows that we're a young division that's of an old company, and so we're trying to gain our foothold in a market and just grow year over year, right? And so I would say the vast majority of our folks are they know that and they are super bought into doing their job to further that mission. And then also just we're big on culture, and I know y'all are too. And most companies probably would say they're big on culture, but I don't know that their actions always show that.
Right.
But for us, like we are constantly trying to develop a culture where people feel like they are contributors, that what they do matters. They're not just a number. They have a specific role in whatever it is that they're doing, and it matters that they are in that role. They're not replaceable, if you will. And I think we do that. It's hard. Construction, you have projects teams that are isolated out on their projects, and so you don't get to, as me personally, I don't get to see everybody every day. But in the moments that we do all come together, just fostering that culture of togetherness and family, that I would go to bat for any of them, if they needed me to, whenever they needed me to. So,
Yeah, I think that's a recurring theme, maybe unfortunately, on this podcast is the recruiting and finding the people.
yeah.
They don't exist. Like, where are they? What are they doing? Why can't we find them? And, we all need more of them. So,
Yeah, we had a annual operations meeting last week with across the company, and one of the things that came up from every division was, we can find enough folks for the office roles, like assistant super, or I'm sorry, assistant project managers, project like folks in those roles. The biggest hurdle is finding folks that want to go into the field and make a career in the field. And what's crazy is not crazy. We have shown in our company at least that it doesn't matter if you build your career in the office or in the field. Leadership at HOAR is built up of people from both. Brady Johnson is the region president for Texas, so he's over all of Texas for HOAR. He started his career as an assistant superintendent, with HOAR in the late '90s, and worked his way up to superintendent, general superintendent, area superintendent, and so on. And now he's leading the entire business of us in Texas. He's one example.
Yeah.
There are others of like, if you're aspiring to be a leader in a company, in construction, at least at HOAR, it doesn't matter if you choose the field or the office, you can do both. But so I think that one of the issues that I've heard is that I can't speak for every college, but at some of the universities that we recruit from, we've heard that like the curriculum and the professors very much push like the office side of our industry, and they don't necessarily teach or promote the field side, which of course to me is counterintuitive because who are the ones building and making sure things get built properly?
Yeah.
It's our field staff. Same thing for y'all.
Right.
And so it doesn't make sense, but that's what I've heard. And so I don't know. I guess I'm talking about a problem without a solution, but there's got to be a way to maybe go into some of these universities and try to counteract that a little bit. And we do that when we go to career fairs. We talk about all three paths: office, pre-con, and field. And we've even got some metrics showing that, like from a compensation standpoint, there's really no difference. If you're a PM, or a super, you're at the same level, right? And so we're trying to push that message, but man, we need some more field folks.
And I think so it was a few years ago, I went back, I don't know, 2 or 3 years in a row and spoke at a handful of classes at Purdue. And so I was an English major. So I taught at a lot of English classes. And then I also spoke at a lot of engineering classes. And then the last year that I was there, so I talked to the engineers about business development. And I remember the last presentation I gave, I thought it was going to be a room of like 25 kids, and there was like 200 kids in this room. I'm like, nobody told me about this. And so there's a kid in the front row, and he mouthed to me, "I'm so scared." So I start laughing, and no one knows what I'm laughing about. And I'm like, guys, you're going to have to talk to clients. Like, you're not just going to do calculations the whole time. And so then I had a conversation with that engineering professor, and then he wanted me to talk to their construction professor, one of them. And he said, we're just so far away from the actual job sites. Like, we need more of you coming in and presenting. But then you have to get on the professor's curriculum. And, that takes a whole class day
Yep.
out of their schedule if it's not just a recruiting thing. And so it is interesting because, I mean, I'm sure they're learning something at school.
Sure.
I don't want to take that away, but there's a lot of things that it's like, but like they don't push trade partners at all.
Oh yeah, that's a great point too.
And
They talk about going to
we
work for
pay the
GCs.
same, like
Yeah.
we do all the same
And also
things.
we can't, none of us can do our jobs without our trade partners, of
Uh-huh.
course. And so that's a really good point. I've thought of that too. They don't talk about like, hey, you could specialize and go be an expert in drywall or mechanical or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a problem too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so you have one little one, right?
Yes.
How old?
She turned 2 in July.
Okay, so if she's going to college tomorrow, are we going to college? Are we going to trade school?
Yeah, it's funny. She's only 2. We've talked about this. I'll tell you that in lieu of this is like I don't know, maybe too not too personal, but like very specific. In lieu of doing a 529 plan, is that
Yeah, I don't know,
um,
but yes, I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
The
they're like
college savings fund? Yeah.
yes, but through the state, but it's got to be used for. We elected to just do an investment fund for her so that whatever she decides, she's got
Nice.
some. So if she wants to go to college, great. Whether it pays for everything or
Uh-huh.
just some whatever. But or if she wants to go into theater or go
Mhm.
be a go to the trades or just she wants to go start a business. Maybe she's
Yeah.
a genius at 18 and she doesn't need college. She's already got this brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Here's a seed fund to go
Nice.
do that. So we did that because we didn't want to limit it to college. Look, I think college is great. I think that it serves a very good purpose, but dependent on what your goals are,
Mhm.
right? I think personally, I got out of college what I intended,
Uh-huh.
and I am super glad that I went, and I think that it's gotten to me where I'm at as a foundation. But
That's perfectly said.
but what we talk about a lot in construction is like you don't have to go to college to be I'm just going to use a construction superintendent, whether it's
Mhm.
with Carco or HOAR or whoever. You don't have to go to college to at 30 years old be a construction
Right.
superintendent. You really
Right.
don't.
Mhm.
I would argue you don't really have to be a PM either. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many things you can learn by on the job training. And
Yep.
so what we are pushing, we actually rolled it out earlier this year, or maybe it was late last year, was basically we are going into high schools and promoting working for us after high school. And we have a program set up. There's field coordinators and project coordinators are the titles that we
Uh-huh.
have, but you can basically come in at an hourly rate, and there are no expectations other than that you're going to show up to work and work hard
And
and,
work hard.
and learn. And the idea is that instead of traditionally for us out of college, you're either a project engineer or field engineer. And so what we did is we created a couple roles below that so that if you're 18 and you know nothing about
Right.
construction, but you have a desire to learn, you can come in at that role and basically you're then on the trajectory to
Yeah.
all the titles that everyone
Right.
else is on
Right.
that graduates college is on the trajectory for. And so where I think that's beneficial is I think there's the very basic fact that not everybody can afford college
Sure.
because it has gotten insanely
Yep.
expensive. And so there's that fact. Two, I think that there's some people who are very mature at 18 that
Mhm.
actually could benefit from a structured work environment where they're just going to go and start learning their craft day one. I'm sure y'all see that a lot in the trades where it's
Mhm.
like, I want to get into the trades, and so I don't need a college degree to go learn how to frame walls. I'm
Right.
just going to go out on a job site and have somebody mentor me and teach
Right.
me. And so we want to provide that opportunity on the GC side because we see value in. I mean, if you're starting at 18, imagine where they're going to be at 25 with 7 years of field
Right.
experience. And so that's something that we've done to do our part, at least for our company, to try to. And so we're going to. There's our office is in Allen, and there's um, an Allen Chamber event that's geared towards Allen ISD
Oh.
next I think it's next Thursday. It's called Gears and Careers. And so they have an Allen ISD, they have like certain industry focused teaching platforms that you can enroll in and take classes in that are outside of like, physics and
Right.
chemistry and
Uh-huh.
stuff, but they're like more career focused. And one of them is engineering and construction.
That's cool.
So we're going to be there with a booth and we're going to be talking to kids about what the construction industry is and
Mhm.
what their opportunities could be. And
Yeah.
that could be at 18, that could be at 22, but trying to just infiltrate that next,
Mhm.
level of people, which is high schools,
Yeah.
and teaching them early that, teaching them what we do, what the opportunities are. I mean, people talk about this all the time, but I mean, like the average person doesn't know that like, a master electrician, makes six figures, high, you know what I mean? Like, you make very good money being in construction in the field and but like having a skill, right? That's very sought after.
Mm.
People don't know that.
Uh-huh.
People don't get it. And so we're trying to communicate that while it is a traditional blue collar industry, the reality is like there's plenty of great career opportunity in this industry.
Yeah, I always joke because I feel like the friends in the industry who have all the planes and the house in Cabo and those fun things,
Mhm.
they're trade partners,
Yeah, that's right.
you know?
Yeah, they're the dirt work guy
Uh-huh. Yeah.
flying on private jet over to the whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it. Uh,
Probably
we did
probably
it
need to
all
mark down
wrong.
those change orders a little bit, you know?
No, that's really interesting, and I feel like there probably needs to be some sort of education for the parents too,
Mhm.
because parents don't know. They just think it's a laboring job or whatever, and they don't realize the potential. I mean, I didn't know the potential until I landed in this industry,
Mhm.
and I'm like, man, I love everything about this, and I didn't know this person could have this career success path, and this person.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that's cool. Let's see. What are some things that have motivated you throughout the years?
I'm pretty self-motivated just in general. It's always been deep inside me to just want to be successful
Mhm.
in whatever that is, personal or professional. I don't know. Let me say this. I was never the best athlete,
Okay.
and I'll say that. I tried really hard, and I love sports. It's one of my passions. But I was not blessed. Thanks, mom and dad, with the most athletic genes, and so that honestly, as a kid, always motivated me. When I was in high school, maybe junior year, I just had that realization of like I'm never going to be
Uh-huh.
naturally gifted as this guy or
Right.
whatever. And so I spent all of junior year just like in the weight room as many hours as I could, right? And I know I wasn't it didn't result in me getting a starting position or whatever, but I played more than I probably would
Ah,
have, right? And
okay.
so my whole thing is if there's an area in my life where I feel like I could be more successful, am humble enough to know that the only way that's going to happen is if I work harder.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
myself, the team around me, and so I don't expect anything to be given to us. I would say the best example of that is when we started this office. I always tell people, a lot of GCs and maybe even trade partners too will start a new office because they landed a
mhm,
big anchor job,
mhm,
and it's like, well, Carco, we're about to go. We just got the painting contract at the Wells Fargo Tower or whatever. Like, let's go start an office in Dallas. It's a great strategy, I guess. We didn't do that. We started an office with no active projects and no real leads or opportunities. It was just a desire to grow our Texas region and grow opportunities for people. And so I'm saying all that to say that like when we started our division, I very well knew day one nobody was going to give us anything.
mhm,
I didn't expect anybody to give us anything. We were going to have to work for everything that we wanted to achieve, and that's how it's played out. We scratched and clawed for a while there just to get our first job. But even then, it's just one job, right? And you got to
mhm,
continue to scratch and claw. And now, luckily, it's been 4 or 5 years, and so we're in a position where it's a little bit easier, but it's still not easy,
right.
right?
Right.
And so I know that we are only going to be as successful and hit the growth trajectory that we all aspire to if I work harder every day, if I encourage my counterparts to work harder every
Mhm,
day.
mhm.
And I don't mean work harder meaning work more hours, but just get smarter about what
Right.
we're doing. Chase the right leads, go network at the right places, all those
Mhm,
things. And so quite honestly, what currently motivates me outside of from a personal standpoint, but at work is I see an opportunity in Dallas Fort Worth in the North Texas region to thrive. There's 8 million people in DFW. It's the fourth biggest metroplex, potentially soon to be third. And I think that for HOAR, we have 9 divisions, I think, and they're all in some major markets. But selfishly, what motivates me is I think we have the potential to be really really
mhm,
big
mhm.
in our own company. Now, I'll caveat that by saying our company, from our CEO down, will tell you that a dollar amount on a volume is not what we're striving for. We are not striving to be the biggest, quite frankly, because we never will be. There's folks out there that are just always going to be right.
Sure.
But what our CEO has always said that's always resonated with me is that he wants to grow our people first. And if you do a really good job at growing your people, your volume will
Mm,
naturally increase. Because if you grow your people and you don't provide them more opportunities, guess what they do? They leave. So if you're growing your people successfully, you will have to find more opportunities, which then in turn will lead to you growing on a balance sheet, right? And so we're very focused on that. I've fully bought into that mentality of a number in the volume column is great, but if I don't have enough people and I don't have the right people and I'm not growing those people, it's all just going to fall apart.
Right.
And so I'm extremely motivated by the fact that I feel like we have put together in our group a group of highly talented folks that excite me every day about what they are doing. Some of them are young, and it blows my mind what they're doing at their age, right? But it also excites me because imagine what they're going to do with
Right.
more experience.
Right.
But it motivates me. I want to keep them busy. I want to continue to find projects that excite them and challenge them. And so yeah, I would say it's pretty hard not to be motivated in the role I'm in and doing what we do, because there's just so much opportunity out there.
Need reliable, high-quality service for your commercial project? Choose Carrco, the most trusted contractor in commercial painting and drywall in Dallas-Fort Worth. With over 30 years of experience, Carrco delivers top-tier craftsmanship across Texas. From expert painting to seamless drywall, we handle it all, on time and on budget. Transform your space with the professionals at Carrco. Visit carrcopainting.com today. Carrco, where quality meets reliability.
That kind of takes us to our next question, which is about mentorship. So how have you had mentorship in your life? What are you doing at HOAR, maybe especially with your young folks that you're hiring?
Yeah.
Do you guys have official programs there?
We did at one point. We don't really right now, other than we have kind of identified. So you've got obviously your direct supervisor, right? But we have identified the need for there to always be someone, whether they're in your office or maybe even not in your office, that's kind of watching out for you and guiding you. And so, as an example, our pre-con manager here, John Holman, his background is he was a mechanical engineer, and so he wanted to try something new and came to work for us. Well, it just so happens that in Austin, our director of pre-con was literally the same thing. He was a mechanical engineer from Purdue, actually.
Oh, nice.
Or went to Purdue, and then wanted a career change, came to work for HOAR. And so I very quickly was like, John, you report to me, y'all are going to be buddies. Because y'all, Jake's a few years ahead of doing what you're doing right now, John, as far as learning how to make that transition. So we definitely do that. Personally, I will say I feel extremely blessed from what I have experienced in my career from every different stop. When I was in Atlanta, I worked for two different guys that were, a good bit older than me, but like they took the time to truly train me. And I feel like that's maybe something that's somewhat lost in this day of technology and AI and everything, is like the idea of sitting down and spending however many hours it takes to walk someone through a process or teach them how to read a submittal or read a draw, whatever. I had two guys in Atlanta that they were, I guess, probably senior PM level and I was entry level. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because they were told to do it or this just came naturally to them, they took countless amount of hours to teach me. And then when I moved to Houston, I worked for a guy in Houston that same thing. Like he was a project executive. I worked for him, but he felt like a friend because when we faced problems or challenges, it wasn't like MC figured out. It was, hey, let's set some time aside on the calendar to like work through this problem and come up with a game plan, right? And then moving up here, the Brian Cook, who used to run Texas for HOAR and has since now he works for himself and he gets to be a consultant and have a fun job working for himself. But same thing, like he believed in me, and when you feel that someone at that level believes in you and thinks that you can do things that you don't even really think you can do, it kind of sets off a fire inside of you to prove them right. And so he kind of said, MC and David, y'all, I want y'all to go build a group up there. And quite honestly, I didn't really know what was going to happen, right? Like I sure hoped I could do it, or that we could do it, but you just never know. But his belief in us and his constant mentoring and guidance, again, it just stoked the flame of like we can do whatever we put our minds to. So again, I feel like I've been very blessed in the professional world of having folks that poured into me and actually took time to train and develop me.
My husband had a couple guys like that on his very first boots on the ground, super green, eyes big, what do we do? And like we not joke, but we say every once in a while, where would we be if those two guys wouldn't have been there to train you? And you listen to every single thing that they taught you to do. And there's still guys that he talks to today, but I'm like, what a perfect job to be on. What a perfect team to be on for your first job.
And you're not, unfortunately not everyone gets that experience. I think the challenge, for me that I kind of push is like we need to make sure we're doing that with all of our folks, but especially young folks that are coming in because their eyes are going to be big. They
Right.
step on that job site, and we need to make sure we're taking care of them.
Kind of moving into some industry insights. What are you seeing right now for industry trends?
So we're in an interesting position that we are when post COVID, when interest rates started going up and the private sector started kind of slowing down, or at least there was some uncertainty there. We
Mhm.
we pivoted really hard to institutional work,
Okay.
healthcare, higher ed, civic government type
Mhm,
work
mhm,
that was funded, either by bonds or
mhm,
by whatever the case may be.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so that's really what has sustained us over the last few years. And I'm not just talking about North Texas, really. It's all of our Texas divisions. And so we're hoping, I think I talked to a developer like a year and a half ago, and was asking him a similar question. He's like,
Mhm.
man, we're all just saying survive till 25. And now it's September of
Here we are.
2025. And
Here we
so,
are.
I don't know what the new rhyming slogan is, but something with 2026. But I actually attended a developer dinner specific to the multifamily industry, which obviously has been the one that's been hurt the most
Uh-huh.
because of interest rates, just not being able to get deals to pencil. And um, the biggest takeaway I had from that last Monday night was it's actually not. For a while, it was interest rate, but that was causing starts not to happen. But what I learned was like really right now, the biggest thing is rent increases. And so
Ah.
until rental rates start to increase at a pace um, that equity wants to see, they're not going to put their money into multifamily, and so those starts are going to continue to be slow. But at least one guy in the room who I think was pretty smart kind of predicted that based on historical, if you just look at history, like
Mhm.
this time next year, maybe even as early as next summer, between now and then, the rent growth. This is specific for DFW, but by then the rent growth should be trending in the right direction if you
Mhm.
just look at historical data.
Mhm.
That to where that will be a check mark at that point.
Mhm.
And then hopefully there's a couple more drops in interest rates, and it'll be the perfect storm
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
people to take off. Now, also in that room, people were also talking about the fact that there are going to be some developers who basically just hedge their bets and say, I want to be the first in, right? And so
Right.
even if rent growth is not where I want it to be, and even if interest rates are higher than I want them to be, if I don't start now, then I'm going to be starting the same time as everybody else.
Right.
And so I think we're going to see some one-offs that
Mhm.
do. Again, this is specific to multifamily, but it could really be
Uh-huh.
anything private
Yep.
that are going to start because there's going to be some folks that just don't want to get left
Mhm.
behind, and
Right.
they want to be first to the
Yeah.
finish lines. I'm hoping that's the case. The public side, I mean, just it's insane the amount of money that's out there
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
being spent between, and we don't even really do much K through 12. We're started to do it in Texas besides some, but I mean, you look at bond reports and how much money K through is going into K through 12. We work for Texas A&M on multiple campuses. Most recent Board of Regents meeting in August, they just approved another like I don't even know what it was, 2.5, $3 billion over the next 5 years in
Mhm.
capital improvements and capital projects. And so um, there's a lot of work to be had if you're interested in working in that market sector.
Mhm.
Now it does present not necessarily challenges, but it's different paperwork and those
Right.
kind of things type things we got to work
Right.
through. But it's good work and they're great projects. And I know we're working with y'all on a couple
Mhm.
up at East Texas A&M.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that again, that was our strategy was ride the wave through public work. And then even when private work comes back, we're always going to maintain diversity. It's kind of
Right.
our part of our
Mhm.
core culture now is
Mhm.
to not live in one specific market
Well,
sector.
and I think we all saw that during COVID.
Yeah.
Those people who were great at X and then X went away, we all watched that.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I'd say to some degree it's happening with data center right now. Like, I
Mm.
think there's a lot of GCs and trade partners who had done some data center work in the past, but it wasn't their
Mhm.
their highest percentage, and all of a sudden there's you look at it now and it's like 90% of what they do. I don't think that's going away anytime soon,
Right.
so that's probably okay for the time being. But
Huh?
um, unfortunately, that's taken away, especially on the trade side, from some of our key partners who now
Yes.
too busy to work with us on our true commercial work.
I've heard that from a lot of people because those sites are so big, they need a bazillion
A
people
lot of
out
people.
there.
So there's a healthcare trade partner that MEP trade partner we used to work with a lot, and that's what they were known for.
Was healthcare,
was healthcare.
and now it's just
And now
data
it's
centers.
basically just data centers.
Interesting.
Which makes sense. I mean, but like
But still,
but
like,
for us, we're
your
like,
MEP is very
oh
specific,
yeah.
and yeah,
And so we're wanting them to, price healthcare work for us. And they're like,
huh,
can't do
we're busy.
it. We're busy, which good for them, right?
Yeah,
I
good
mean,
for them. Mhm,
you gotta pivot when you see an opportunity.
mhm,
And so,
mhm.
but I think every industry event I go to, I'm sure similar for you, we are blessed to live in this market because
Yes.
while there have been, it's not obviously what it was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, but I think compared to some other markets that have
Yes.
had super big downturns,
Yeah.
you don't really see that here. You don't
No,
see people getting laid off in the construction
no.
industry. In fact, I think most of us would say we need more people.
Yes,
Um,
everyone.
I think that sometimes goes unsaid, but it needs to be said. Like this is a great place to live and
It
work
is.
for not just this industry, others
Mhm.
too, but specific to what we're talking about.
I think every industry outlook that I've seen shows, the big spike for DFW specifically, and it shows that it went down, but it's still above
Or-
like average, or
yeah,
and it's above like everyone else. And so it's like, sure, it came back down, but it still hasn't righted itself. I
yeah,
don't know if that's the right word, so because we're still winning work, we're
yep,
still building a lot of things. I was just at a data center educational thing a couple weeks ago, and the amount of data centers, it was a worldwide thing, which
okay,
I never thought of anything out of,
yeah,
Texas. I'm like, oh wow, I never thought about it over here. But gosh, the amount of data centers that are either they hoping to get permits or they are in the process of getting the power. I mean, I'm
that's the
just like, whoa,
biggest challenge. I'm sure they talked about it was getting
power.
power to the
Yes.
site.
Yeah.
And having enough water supply too.
Right.
But yeah, we were at something recently too, and it was like Encore is I mean, they are fighting tooth and nail because the amount of orders that they have in for these giant sites is just crazy. I wouldn't want to be over there trying to figure that out because
No.
it's probably not easy.
That's why we're not, that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's move on to some kind of fun stuff. What are some of your hobbies outside of work?
Um, I would say that in this current state of life, I don't have a ton of hobbies. I work and I make sure that I'm home to hang out with my 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And on the weekends, while I'm trying to get into golf, it's really hard to justify a 6-hour golf outing
Yeah.
when it's the weekend and I could be hanging out with Mabel. So that is one funny story. At the beginning of the year, Simon Harris, who's our director of business development, he's not a bad golfer. Let's put it that way,
Uh-huh.
right? And so he golfs a lot. He organizes a lot of groups in the industry to get together and
Mhm.
play a team. But he came to me and David, and he's like, "Hey, I can't be the only one in this office who says yes to golf." And I was like, "Oh man, you called me out," because that was like I'm like, I'm not
Uh-huh.
much of a golfer. And so Simon's like, "I've got a golf coach. Y'all are gonna go. Y'all
Nice.
are gonna go
Oh,
meet with
he
this
said
guy,
hi.
and he's in Allen, which is where our office is." So David and I went, signed up for some lessons. I've been taking lessons since January. I would say I'm better than I started, which is not saying
Okay.
much
Okay.
because I started off basically terrible, but it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I used to dread being asked to play golf and having to go out there and make a fool of myself. I would
Mhm.
say now I actually find some fun in it, and so that's been good. But yeah, I mean, right now my current life situation, just with a lot of
Hobby is dad and husband.
hobby is that husband, yeah, and that's a pretty fun hobby. I mean,
Yeah.
it's wild, the difference between like I don't know, even like 1.5 and 2. I mean, she is full on conversational.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it is talking galore, singing songs, telling me what to do.
Oh, how funny.
And so that's been a lot of fun. And I honestly, with how much we all work, it's hard to say no when I could spend my whole weekend with her. So
Right.
that's what I
Right.
do. But I love sports, things that I love. I love sports. I love music. So with a 2-year-old, don't get to go to many concerts, but used to love going to concerts. And then I'm a sports fanatic. So if you invite me to a game, there's a 90% chance I'll say yes.
Okay. Okay.
Um, it's hard for me to say no to those things because I just love it.
Nice. Nice. Let's see. Who or what inspires you the most?
Who or what inspires me the most? Um, it's a great question. I would say that throughout my career, especially early on, but honestly, it's funny because I would say even now too, my dad has been a big source of inspiration because growing up watching him have his career and be successful, but also be a provider for
Mm.
for our family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for me and my sisters, and so my dad obviously was the sole provider, and financially at least. And he worked his butt off, and he had to travel a lot for his job, but he was very successful. And so I think I've always kind of looked up to him as far as how to do things the right way. he wasn't perfect. None of us are, but like how to balance family and work and be good at both.
Nice.
As good as you can be, right?
Yeah.
But then also from a professional standpoint, like, coming into this role probably earlier than I would have expected. Like I leaned on his advice a lot of just like kind of how to try to be successful, right? For what was at the time a job that I necessarily wasn't prepared for. And so he's provided a lot of wisdom and advice and just guidance over the years.
Nice. Nice. Okay, we have what I call the quick fire round,
Okay.
which I'm going to rename because
It's not a good name?
I can't do anything quick fire when
Oh.
it involves a conversation.
Okay.
What's the last book that you read?
Oh, I just finished one 2 days ago. They all end in the word pray, Prey, by John Sanford. The one I just read was,
I know what you're talking about.
uh, I think it was the 4th or 5th. Now I'm reading them in
Okay.
sequential order, so it was
Okay.
like the 4th or 5th.
Uh-huh. These are old books.
Yeah, they started in like the late 80s or early 90s.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've read a couple of these.
Basically, what I do, like, so I'll find an author that I really like, and I'll read all their books in a row.
Mhm.
Then I'll Google similar authors to X,
And then you have
do
your
some
next one.
research, and then I find the next one. So I've done that twice. This is the third one I'm on now.
Who is
First one's Michael Connolly. He wrote
Okay.
the Bosch series and Lincoln Lawyer
Uh-huh.
series.
Uh-huh.
The second one is Robert Crace.
Okay.
But he wrote a series with Elvis Cole and Joe Pike are the main. I'm a sucker for LA, set in LA,
Uh-huh.
detective or private eye type novels.
Okay.
And so, anyways, this one is actually set in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the one I'm on now. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if that's the OCD in me or what, but I'm just like, I find something I like, and I'm just going to read them
I love it.
in order.
We had a guest on here before who designs libraries. And so I used to be on the board for the Friends of the Dallas Public Library. And I felt like I needed to tour all 30 Dallas Public Libraries.
Sure.
But I felt like I needed to at least check out a book.
Yeah.
So I checked out a Stephen King book at every single library. So I went on a big Stephen King because he has a million.
Oh, there's
of
a
them.
lot.
So yeah. Is a skill you would like to learn?
Great question. This is actually, I'm gonna answer it differently.
Okay.
This is a skill that I used to have that I have been dreaming of rejuvenating.
Okay.
I still know how to play guitar, but I used to play guitar
Uh-huh.
and like started taking lessons in 7th grade, played through high school, college, and then start my career, and it
Uh-huh.
becomes something I don't, right. But I still have both my guitars, I've got everything else.
Uh-huh.
And my wife will tell you this, and she'll also like hang her head when she says it. But like, if I would love to be in a band and like play gigs at pubs on the weekend as a side deal. And I actually just met a new friend of ours, couple friend of ours, and that's what he does. He has a lawn care business. That's his full-time job. He plays in a band on the weekends. And I cannot tell you how much I envy this guy.
You're like,
for his ability to do
you
that.
need to pull that guitar out.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you accountable.
He plays drums, but yeah, I need to do it. But that's a skill that I used to have that I want to get back.
Yeah. Gosh, this has been about a year ago. A client took us to see Queen,
Oh gosh.
and it was such an amazing concert.
Who leads
Adam
Lambert?
Lambert. Yeah. It was so good. And I was like, oh, like, will I know any Queen
Oh, you don't know
songs?
Queen songs.
And I got there and I was like, this is the best concert ever. And so we got home from that. Then it was Thanksgiving. And so I've been talking about taking guitar lessons for years.
I think I remember you telling me this.
So I signed up.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to commit to 6 months. That's what I'm going to do. So
Yeah.
I did 6 months of lessons, and I can play some things,
Yeah.
probably not at tempo that it's supposed to, but I'm really glad I did it. So,
It's fun. Every like once in a while on the weekends, I'll be upstairs where the guitar is, and we'll be doing whatever. I'll pick it up and I'll pull up on my phone like chords to like the Frozen song. Or my daughter loves Prince Ali from Aladdin, and I'll just try to like kind of rough it out and play it, and she loses it. She's like, "Oh my god!" And she'll hear it, and she's like, "Daddy's doing this."
so you just need to have a Disney band.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what
that
I'm
would
hearing.
make her happy.
I don't know if it's a pub. It's
No, it'd
a
be a pub.
2-year-old birthday party.
Yes, maybe I can make money doing that.
Okay, so I know you have done a lot of traveling. What is the favorite city you have visited?
Oh gosh.
And maybe give us a 1-minute
Yeah.
your travel.
Yes. That's a really hard question. My wife and I, in 2018, I'm gonna say we, but it was really her, talked me into quitting our jobs, quitting our careers, and moving to Europe for a year. And so we left in August of 2018. We traveled for a full year. We were in Europe for the vast majority of it. Went to Thailand for like 3 weeks. We needed some heat. in the midst of Irish winter. But so I think we went, I've got it written down somewhere. We went to like 22 countries, 105 cities, and some crazy stats. Um, there's a lot that I love. That's the problem now. And that's our biggest issue. Like now when we go to plan big trips and travel and stuff, is like we know that we need to go to places we haven't been, but we're very nostalgic people. And so we also want to go to places that we have memories in so that we can go like relive them, I guess, or show Mabel, whatever. I'll do this one. There's a island called Naxos in Greece. And we spent 5 or 6 days there. Me, Amanda, and my little sister came as well. She joined us. And during that trip, we celebrated all 3 of our birthdays. It is on the 27th, Millie's on the 28th, and I'm on the 30th. So we were on a Greek island that's actually rather, I won't say unknown, but compared to like Santorini and Mykonos, it's not super touristy, which I like. And so we're on this island in Greece celebrating 3 birthdays. So I don't know if it's my favorite city in the world, but for the memories, it was pretty fun. It was awesome.
Would you recommend this to everyone to just
Quit your job?
Quit your job and travel for a year?
If you have the desire and you think you can do it financially, which it's actually a lot easier than you think, there is a lot of saving involved. And
sold everything.
And back in the day, actually cutting cable saved you some money. I don't think now it really does. Yeah, we sold everything. Like when we fully bought into it, we had obviously 2 cars. I sold my car. My wife traveled for work, and so she would just Uber to the airport. So I just took her car to work every day. We sold our house. We wanted to go with no debt.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to have any debt hanging over us. And so, yeah, sold it. Had a massive garage sale that my mother-in-law came and helped facilitate. But yeah, I would say that if you have it's probably easier if you're a little younger because you don't have many commitments in life. But yeah, if you have a desire to do it, and talk to me because I can talk you through some logistics because it's life-changing. And I'll say from both like personally, like change, but also I went with my wife. And so I would say from a marriage perspective, I mean, we became, we'd only been married 2 years, 2-ish plus years when we left. She always makes the joke. When we came back, we were living at my in-laws for a little bit. And like one of the first times that she left to like go to the grocery store or something, I had like separation anxiety because we had spent every day for 12 months together. I mean, never apart. And so when we came back and all of a sudden we're starting doing different things, I was like, this is weird.
Come with me all day today.
Yeah. But it grew our marriage. You wouldn't believe we became best friends if we weren't already.
When you started telling people, see, this is why it's not a quick buy round.
Yeah.
When you started telling people that, were people like, that's awesome, or no, you shouldn't do this, or yeah.
We learned very quickly the personality types of all of our friends.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because we had friends that we told and they were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
And then we had some friends that like borderline tried to talk us out of it.
That's great.
Because they were like, that's not, I mean, I will say this too, my boss at the time, trying to talk me out of it. A, because obviously he didn't want to lose me, but B, he tried to tell me that like my retirement plan was going to be, just completely thrown into the, and I was like, it's only 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. I think it'll be okay. But yeah, we learned very quickly the personality types of our friends with their reaction. But I would say the majority of them, our parents, like we had 2 different, my parents are a little more adventurous. And so they were, all about it. And they're like thinking about all the places they could meet us at. And Amanda's parents are very like homebody. And
because it's her idea.
It was her idea. Yeah. So her parents were a little more sad, I would say. We got them out there. We got them out to London for a week outside of their comfort zone and they loved it.
Nice.
I mean, her dad was like wanting to do everything in London. My parents, we met up with, I think, 2 or 3 times. My sister came, my best friend came twice. So it was
cool.
It was pretty cool. We even had people from our lives that lived there now that maybe we weren't close with anymore, like from college or whatever. But then with Instagram and everything, and they're like, we were in the Cotswolds, like very small, and Amanda posts some photo on Instagram and she gets a message from a girl that she went to high school with that she had not talked to since high school, who was like, are you in this city? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, I live here. Or I live in the city next.
Yeah.
And so then we go out to dinner with her and her husband and her son. And like, for a day and a half, we were like buddies, best friends with them.
That's cool.
Just crazy stories like that. But
that's neat. No, that's really cool. See, that's why it's not a quick buy round.
That's okay.
Okay. What is your favorite construction project that you have been a part of?
I'd probably say there's a couple. The first project that I built with HOAR in Houston was a ground up hospital on the northwest side of Houston, and nothing like unique or, special about it. in the sense of it was just a ground impossible, but it was my first job as a PM to like build on my own. The senior PM on the job actually was in Austin. And so he would come, every week or whatever for a day, but he wasn't on site full time. And so I really grew up, if you will,
Right.
in my role on that job, and got really close with the field staff because I was on site every day and along with them. And one of those guys, Bradley Barr, who's a senior superintendent now with us out building a courthouse in Tyler. We both started 10 plus years ago and both still here. And so we still, have that bond of like, that was our first, job kind of doing on our own. The other one I will say that comes to mind, it was actually when I was a co-op. So I was in college, but I was doing a full semester and I got to work on an expansion of the Georgia Aquarium.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it was a dolphin exhibit.
Uh-huh.
And so it was a massive, I don't remember dollar amount, but a massive expansion onto the Georgia Aquarium, specifically to have a dolphin show exhibit. And so that, from a unique standpoint and what we get to do, that's probably the most unique project I've ever worked on.
It's always interesting when you hear these like zoo projects. I feel like people always like to throw those out because it's like you don't get to do those very often, and people are like, "I've been there," or
It was pretty cool. And then getting to actually go, a year or two later, like to see it, and aquariums are for kids mostly, but like even as an adult, like it's pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I worked on this, and I know what's below this level. You know what I mean?
I know everything.
I know everything.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What is a piece of advice to someone just starting out in the industry?
Probably more than just one piece of advice, but I would say the biggest thing is to be a sponge. Be a sponge, be humble, and think before you speak.
That's good.
This industry, you can't fake experience, right? Like you can't all of a sudden have worked on 5 projects in a year.
Right.
Each opportunity that you have to work on a project, there's probably more chance that you will miss opportunity to learn and grow than there is to learn and grow, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
If you show up every day like a sponge and ask a million questions and almost to the annoyance of whoever you're working for, you're doing good. And then the listen before you speak thing I struggle with is like, don't speak to hear yourself talk. Like take in what, if you're in a meeting or whatever, like take in what's being said by someone else before you respond. But as a young person, it's really just like sit in on every meeting you can and listen and take notes, and you'll have a page full of notes of things that you have no idea what they meant or what that word is. And then you go ask your supervisor, explain all these things to
And
me.
Sometimes you still do.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, I have never heard that word before.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're super green, don't disregard the fact that you don't know things. Go attack it.
Right.
And go try to learn it.
I like that. GC, trade partner relationships.
Yeah.
What did you want to talk to about that?
So we could talk about a million things. One thing that I would say is that I've been pushing our folks. Just in general, like it's a big thing for us. And nobody's perfect, but like we are extremely hyper focused on building real relationships with trade partners, not just like, hey, I sent you a bid invite. Now you should be my friend. Getting to know the people at those companies to where we have real working relationships.
Yes.
Are we always going to be happy with each other? No, there's going to be things here or there, but like it's a lot easier to have a hard discussion with someone that you know, like, and trust than someone that you've never really talked to. I think maybe when I wrote that, I was thinking of, I had the opportunity to be on HOAR does a leadership council rotation. It's 2 years long and then they take a year break. But so I was on it. And one of the things that we did was our COO organized a trade partner panel, essentially. And it was us that were on leadership council. And then he brought in a concrete company, a framing and drywall company, a steel company, and maybe one other from some different markets. Like one was from Atlanta, one was from Nashville.
That's
we were in
interesting.
Birmingham, but it's where we work, right?
I like that.
And it was literally just like a panel. And so Randall, our COO, had some pre-prepared questions, but then we opened the floor and I got to, just say, hey, I asked a question about like pre-con, like, hey, when is the best time to send you a bid form? Like, I can't get it to you the day I send you the ITB. What if I get it to you 5 days, whatever? And like, I got real feedback from the framing, but he's like, if we can get it, 8 days before the bid or whatever it was that he said. And I was like, perfect. Like things like that. And so I feel like that really inspired me to think like, how can we do something like that more often? Because the trade partner world has things that they do really well that maybe sometimes get hampered by the way that we operate,
Well,
and vice versa.
and you guys have 50 of us to
Sure.
keep track of.
But you're also trying to work with however many GC. There's got to be some opportunity, and maybe since you're this great organizer of people, you can help.
I
But,
made
like,
a note. I was like, I like this.
but, like, it doesn't need to be big, but it was really cool being able to just like have an open and honest conversation with these 3 different trade partners about things that we deal with every day, from estimating all the way through the end of construction. And just like, how do we learn from each other and get better? But you have to be vulnerable enough to hear someone say something to you that maybe you don't do well, or that you could get better on. And then same thing with y'all. Right. And so if we can get better at that, but anyways, long story short, like we are pushing especially young people super hard to, hey, you need to build relationships with architects and engineers, but you just as equally, if not more important, is the trade partner market, because A, those are the people actually doing the putting the work in place. But B, like if we can build that stable of trusted trade partners, I mean, we're an army that can't be stopped, right? And that's what we want to be. And so we're hyper focused on it. I guess maybe I was just wanting to say that because I think it's important. We are fully aware that we can't do our job without y'all.
So we just put together a Paint 101 presentation.
Yeah, I think I saw.
And I think somebody has talked to somebody at your office. So
Okay.
we're working on a time for you guys to either come here or for us to go to you guys. And we have all sorts of things in there. And so I've sat in on 2 or 3 of them so far. And it is like an open and honest, well, what about this? Or what about that? And well, on this project that happened, and so there has been some really good conversations. And we're working on, we just added it to the list for a drywall 101. And then I'm like, we probably need to do a combo, but we've had the Paint 101s, we can wrap it up in an hour, but people have had so many questions. They've been an hour and a half or 2 hours.
That's okay.
And that's what they're like. We want to stay here longer because we have these questions and we want to know the answers to them. So
there's a waterproofing contractor in DFW that does, I don't know how often they do it, but they do something called a cocktail hour, CAULK.
I love it.
But theirs is more like training and education, like, because waterproofing is like this big mystery. It's like, I don't know how all this works,
Right.
And so they literally just host it, and GCs can come, and basically they're just like teaching us the basics, if you will, of like their systems and how everything gets us. Try to make us better at honestly buying it out, QCing it, everything else. So those types of things, I'm like, that's this arm talking to, or this hand talking to this hand, and making us both better.
Well, and it's interesting for me, like moving from the engineering world to the trade partner side. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, and so I still have a lot of my same relationships, and now I have more and different, but it's nice to watch my people take the contractors out golfing or shooting or just a lunch or breakfast or, so it's a big push for us here because we have to be able to pick up that phone and have that conversation. And sometimes it's a good one. Hey guys, everything's on time and perfect and you won the job. And sometimes it's, hey, I need you out here tomorrow morning because there's a problem.
It's also a lot easier to have a conversation with somebody, even just the step of having met them in person.
Yes.
Because in this technology world, it's all email and, still phone calls, but a lot of emails and even text messages, which drives me crazy for different subject. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've emailed with somebody and it's 4 years later and I finally meet them. Right.
Wow.
And it's like, shame on me.
Well, I can't imagine that.
Why did I not ever just like say, hey man, we talk a lot. Let's go to lunch. Right.
Yeah.
And so just even that step of like, I've met this human being in person. So when I have to have this phone call about whatever, like I'm going to treat them like a human.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They're not just an email.
They're not just this person that I've never met, so.
That's good. I think we have gone through everything.
Okay.
Unless there is anything else you want to add.
I don't think so.
Okay. We are going to wrap it up.
Just kidding.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.